Alright, so if you saw my short earlier talking about how we are now going to be removing Kang, I'd like to handle this video by kind of discussing the main reasons I've heard and why they're totally crap. So the first and most prominent one is the fact of the case of Jonathan Majors, which I think should be completely separate from the character. I mean, they're not the same person. One's a fictional character, one's a real-life person. So the actions of this should not ruin the story that we're building with this. And I think that's it with that one. If you think that we should cancel the idea of having Kang in the MCU because of Jonathan Majors, then, man, you must want Marvel to fail. Because that's no excuse. When it comes to people saying Kang is weak, he's not even a huge villain, he should be a one-off, it's like, really? He's one of the top 5. Like, are y'all actually counting Galactus? You know, a cosmic force of balance? I mean, go look at the comics and animation where Nawatu actually refers to him as that and says, no, Avengers, do not kill him. Find a way to make him leave your planet alone. And so, let's really think about this. What are the main reasons people think Kang is weak? Well, Ant-Man 3. Which I find funny because that means you're ignoring a whole ass army. Like, that was a lot of people. You had actually, buildings that were alive that were shooting energy rays. You had all sorts of superpowered characters, not just the sidekick guy. You had the person blasting beams. You had the blob thing that could eat people once it got shot up a little bit. You had all sorts of superpowered individuals all there. You had 3 Ant-Man characters, Hank Pym leading a freaking huge ass amount of giant ants that are super intelligent, wielding advanced technology, and MODOK chain sides at the end. Like, people say Ant-Man defeated him alone. Why? Because once he got his butt kicked, he had no suit, therefore none of his powers, which he'd learned to rely on. Meaning, he probably hasn't, actually boxed somebody in a long time. Where that's something that, as you've seen, if you actually watched the Ant-Man movies, you would notice that Scott Lang, has actually fought a lot. He's had a box several times. He ain't someone to just throw off like, ooh, he's a low-rating hero. Cool. He's literally the reason that we were able to have the conclusion we did in Endgame. It may not have been the best direction to take with the character over the MCU, but let's not talk trash. I mean, we can talk about comic lines where they didn't exactly do justice to the character and switch things up. And hey, it's just another variation. So don't complain about that. Comic accurate isn't an argument when there's that many variations, because each new version is just a different universe. When it comes to, him being someone that we should just throw away because we haven't had that much buildup. What do you mean? Thanos had less than 5 minutes of screen time until Infinity War. Like, think about it. We had 2 post-credit scenes. And we had that one scene with him talking to Ronan the Accuser. All of that's less than 5 minutes. That's barely any buildup. But it was more than enough. It did its job. But to say that Thanos had more buildup than Kang? What do you mean? We got 2 seasons of Loki. We got a whole ass movie. And multiple post-credit scenes. I mean, let's be real. The post-credit scenes, especially the one that they showed where it's leaking into our introduction of Victor Timely, we had more than 5 minutes just in post-credit scenes. Then we got 2 series in a movie? That's over 10 times the amount of screen time. So, really, there's no excuse for that. That is a horrible reason. Each and every one of them. Like, I had a commenter literally go, it's because he, how'd he put it? It's because he beat his wife. And I'm like, okay, first off, everything's not done. I've heard the news about him thinking about appealing, and it's because there's just misdemeanors of him defending himself and a finger getting hurt. There's one side where they're still saying it's very intense. I'm not speaking on that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not present in these court cases, and I'm not a mind reader. So I'm not going to make a claim and make myself look like a fool like some of these commenters that have come on my channel and others to sit there and tell people, oh, it's because of this. He's already lost his job. It's like, yeah, well, they fired him. That's true. But they sure were backing him a lot after Quantumania. People are like, oh, well, he's been canceled out and removed from what? Yeah, now that he doesn't have his job, this is true. But for the past months, people have been claiming this has been entirely BS. It's like all the bullshit people were talking about the Marvels and now Deadpool 3. Like they've already seen the movie. They don't come out and admit that they were lying. They don't come out and admit they were wrong. They just move on and start trash talking the next thing. These anti-fans have started to become politicians. They can't even be honest like it's a career for them. So that's why I've made this channel at least now contain part of our nerdy content. I can't deal with the dishonesty about all this. Like, let's cover Kang for real for a second here. Kang is extremely dangerous. Like, we could go, well, it's just a suit. Yeah, that's Iron Man too. Well, he's really intelligent. Yeah, so is, Kang. But he can, so does Kang. Everything you can say about Iron Man, you can say about Kang. But obviously, he's better. He makes a more powerful suit with weaker materials. It's not as heavy. It has much more vast capabilities. He makes a time chair to be able to travel through time. He's got a gun that can literally erase you from the timeline. I think they made that into his glove things. But I mean, I could deal with that. I would rather him have the gun just because it's like, oh, look, you're gone. My suit gives me all this extra strength and everything. Like, people are like, Ant-Man beat him. I'm like, dude, if he had his suit on, if you would remember at the beginning of that movie, when he first encountered Kang, Kang just went and lifted him up and stretched his hand. It almost rips him apart. He gave in because he was about to rip Cassie apart. That's not someone who can defeat Kang. If all it takes is a lift of his hand. No. He was right when he says, you're out of your league, Ant-Man. The people who think that he defeated him literally are admitting they have never watched that movie and have only trusted YouTubers who are just making shit up. This is embarrassingly disgusting level of inaccurate coverage. And I'm not defending the fact of Jonathan Majors. I'm saying, Jesus Christ, if he lost his job, let's recast him. We have 2-3 years left in this saga, and people are like, oh, we should just rush another villain in. Why? So we can ruin Doom too? So we can ruin the Beyonder too? That doesn't make sense. Like, God, why are people advocating that we ruin 3 villains instead of just finishing one out correctly and then giving the justice to Doom that he deserves? Like the Doom and Beyonder thing, yeah, that needs a whole saga. But then again, I'm the one saying that Secret Invasion should have been a whole saga of the start of the MCU that pairs in and follows, just like the original comic introduction of that story. It follows the Kree Skrull War. That is a huge thing. That is Marvel's first major crossover. And for the MCU to not go that direction is probably, hindsight's 2020. But if they do a soft reboot, there's only like 5 or 6 major events if you don't include Civil War II, which, I mean, come on, who freaking cares? It was a telepath that, not really a telepath, sorry, he could see the future, and he was like, oh, this might happen if we don't do this, and it caused a civil war between the heroes. So what? I don't think many people want to go see, oh wait, he's dead, versus Captain America, because, not Captain America, sorry, Captain Marvel, because that would just be her digging up his grave and bashing a skeleton, okay? No, there's no way we can move towards that. In the long term, I don't think that's one that people even liked anyways. So you got Secret Invasion, you have Annihilation Wave, you have Kang's Time Wars, you have Secret Invasion, you have Secret Wars, the Battle World section of it. You have the Spider Wars, you have the Kree Skrull War, and then you start losing out on the amount of big crossovers you can do. You could have done way better than this, but what we got is what we got. but it's way better than people want to claim. Kang is no pushover. Even in the comics, he has beaten the Avengers, and it was his own actions that caused his defeat. You know, for instance, there was one time where he played a game versus the Grand Master, and yeah, the MC nerfed the hell out of Grand Master. This guy played a game where I believe it was the Marvel's Justice League team with Hyperion on it. I don't remember the name of the team offhand right now. Versus one form of the Avengers. And he was given the choice to, if he won, to have the powers over life and death. What we don't have in the MCU is a Kang that's actually dealing with Ravonna Renslayer as this princess of this whole other freaking empire somewhere else that he refuses to conquer out of trying to earn her love. Eventually he conquers the Avengers and beats them, and then, you know, she gets shot, and that's how the Avengers get away, and he puts her in a time stasis, and whole long convoluted story of the different Kangs interacting and dealing with variations of how that event happened. But let's get back to the chess game between these two. I don't remember how he lost and won, because he was only allowed to pick life or death. And because Kang chose death and the control over death, and he said the Avengers need to die, the Avengers started dying. But what he didn't remember was the Black Knight hadn't officially joined the Avengers at that time, so he just comes up and, like, takes them down. That's how the Avengers survived. It isn't actually that they could beat him. What people got to understand is the reason this is a story that needs to take time to build up is we do need another 4 years for this saga. Maybe 6, because we got to introduce the Young Avengers. So Iron Lad is brought in, you know, the child variant of Kang the Conqueror, the one who's told to infiltrate the Avengers, who turns against him because he doesn't want to become him, and ends up being an ally of the Avengers and helping them defeat him. That would be a good way to introduce the Young Avengers and bring them forward. It also would give us, I don't remember the kid's name from Iron Man 3, but he showed up at the funeral at the end of Endgame. That kid could easily have been receiving funding and help for Pepper after and from Tony beforehand. This kid could rise to be the next Iron Man, and I'm okay with that. We've already lost the actor playing Tony Stark, so we should be able to mantleize that one just like Captain America. The people who think that, just a side note, that Ironheart is a replacement, please shut up, go back, look at the comics, or actually just look the character up. Because how's she a replacement if her and Iron Lad both existed during a time where Iron Man exists? It's not a replacement. Just like Jane Foster's dead ass ain't replacing Thor. But nobody went back and admitted that. They all just wanted to say, oh no, we're getting a MCU. They're replacing all the OG Avengers with women. Learn your shit, you Fox, Sony, Netflix fans. Like, Jesus, you aren't real Marvel fans. And if you are, you have got to be an anti-fan. Because you can't honestly be fans of this stuff and actually hate what we're seeing this bad. Like, you really can't. Like, okay, wait, Secret Invasion. Let me say. Because honestly, they really had me that first half. Heck, they really had me that first 3 quarters. But man, I'm with everyone that said it lost them on the last episode. Like, plus, I wasn't really a fan of it being a 6-8 episode kind of series or even a movie. Secret Invasion is a saga, not a movie. And on that, I do agree we're focusing too hard on Kang. Like, you know, we had an event Infinity Saga, we had Thanos, but we didn't at all let that prevent us from having a Loki Avengers and having Ultron as the villain in Avengers. So where's our other opposition? Where's someone that's standing up? It's like, well, all we got is Doom and King and We've used Thanos, Loki, and Ultron. There are so many villains out there. You don't need to use Galactus. You could literally have him be introduced to freeing Norrin Rad Silver Surfer to allow, I forget what the girl's name was, but she got herself up there and to protect Earth decided to be his next, oh man, I couldn't remember the term, but to go around and search and find planets. She got the power of like a supernova or something like that. And she's Herald. She's the new Herald of Galactus at that point. This would allow Silver Surfer to actually be a part of the cosmic level Avenger side, helping protect the universe instead of helping keep it in balance by, bringing food to Big Daddy Galactus. But let's be real. Galactus isn't a villain, but he's no hero. He is more a force of nature. And that's actually a little scarier to realize he doesn't actually necessarily care about the heroes or any type of life. It's food. So if you can give him a logical reason to go after something else, he's going to. I mean, it's not that hard to do it right. I mean, geez, Fox, maybe I'm wrong because they made him a cloud. But then again, they couldn't even respect the characters. It's like Jessica Jones of the Netflix series. They took 2/3 of her powers away, and the last third they toned down to damn near not even existing. And the Purple Man wasn't even purple. Like, that's his name. Kilgrave is Purple Man. Where was him putting on the makeup? I mean, like the 90s X-Men show kind of made him underwhelming. But still, at least they had his purple skin and him covering himself with the skin looking stuff so that he could walk around in public. This is how he got away with it. Nobody knew Kilgrave was Purple Man until people figured that out. Called it disguise. But I'm not surprised that people will defend the trash of the past just so that they can claim the MCU sucks. But come on, Kang, weak. It is really sad because there are even people calling Doctor Doom weak. I'm like, man, why? Because Thanos was a pipsqueak? I mean, I'd get if he was weak. I mean, he could be weak then, but, he's ripped Thanos' spine out and turned him into a bunch of ashes in seconds. I don't think that's weak. And Doom has worked for Kang because he couldn't defeat him, but tried to manipulate him. And the whole time, Kang knew what he was doing. Why? Because he controls time and he can just go check what you're going to do. It's not like he has to trust you. He can know for sure. That's what really makes Kang dangerous. And we want to sit there and go, oh no, he's getting removed because he's worthless. He's weak. No build-up. You're wrong on all accounts. So if you're one of those people, please come in the comments. And go comment to some other YouTuber that's willing to do a debate versus Infinity Saga versus Multiverse. I got Multiverse, and I will shred the first two phases because they really sucked in comparison to 3 and later. And just because everything's not as good as Endgame and Infinity War doesn't mean it's not great. Again, not defending Infinity War, but besides that, not Infinity War, sorry, Secret Wars. Secret Invasion, my bad. I'm just messing up everything right now. This is how bad it's got me just messed up mentally. People that are claiming all this stuff have got to be fans from after the animation and comics and before the MCU. I mean, think about this. People want to say Phase 1 was so great. You realize Iron Man 1 is what started the mistake we all will hold Disney accountable for making the Mandarin the way did and the way they did in the third one. Let's clear a few things up. 10 Rings as an organization does not exist in the comics. It's called the Hand. But why couldn't we use the Hand? Oh, because the Netflix series had it. And boom, there you go. If it was actually canon and was intended to be, why couldn't Iron Man use the Hand? Why was the Mandarin and the Hand and not in the Hand in Netflix? Why did the Hand not have magical powers beyond, chemical juice, alchemy stuff to bring someone back alive? No, I mean like cast spells, like the Mandarin, who had the 10 rings. which each had such scientific capacity that even Iron Man could not tell they weren't magic. This is his greatest villain, and they started the ruin of it in the first Iron Man. Like, yes, it was a great movie, but the Ten Rings doesn't exist. And the Mandarin is not Shang-Chi's father. That is a alien thing that can transform into a dragon called Fu Manchu. He has nothing to do with Shang-Chi besides they fight each other sometimes. Like, they're villains from their own IP. They're separate, but that's how Marvel works. A lot of villains have fought a lot of different heroes. But, yeah. Anyone up for that debate? I'll start with Iron Man 1 and shred your revisionist history apart. But if you do want to see more content like this, be sure to come by. I will continue to be your personal geeky guru and giving you an honest take while calling out the anti-fans.